This is a totally different podcast episode than I usually do because here I'm showcasing the amazing people who will be at Freelance Unlocked Conference, the first conference for freelancers that made with love, and it'll take place in Berlin on May 15th, 16th, 2024. If you are a freelancer in Europe, it's an event made for you to learn, exchange experiences, and build your network of great freelancers and experts who move the freelance economy forward. So go to freelanceunlocked.com and grab your ticket right away. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Nadia Harris, an expert in global HR strategy, remote work optimization, talent strategies, and HR processes, head of HR at Receeve, and a huge advocate for a better and more flexible future of work, and founder at remoteworkadvocate.com. So, hello, Nadia.
Hi, Yuri. Super happy to be here and already excited like crazy for the event in Berlin.
Yeah, it's like the first conference that we are making, and it will be a huge, huge, huge event, to meet, to have fun. And even before event itself, currently, we'll get to know you better as a great expert. And the first question for you, how did you start your journey in the freelance world?
In the freelance world, well, by accident, and I'll be super honest. How did that happen? It was in 2015. So, as a matter of fact, before 2015, I was always this kind of person who was taking on different gigs. I speak different languages, so even at those times in my life when I was a student, right, I was always doing some kind of translation work here and there because I knew that, I just wanted to monetize my skills. And then in 2015, it started big time because I was looking for a job and I started sending out my CV everywhere, just literally everywhere. And I don't know how that happened, but I got hired as a freelancer part time on an hourly basis, remotely, which in 2015 was like, oh, it's going to be a scam. Remotely? Like, what the hell is that? Not really. How is that going to happen? And that was with a company in California. But it turned out very quickly that yes, they do pay, always on time. The more I work, the more I get paid. And then after I think 2 or 3 months, I realized, wow, I'm actually able to buy a plane ticket to another country and also pay for my hotel. And I have even money left for food. And all this comes from that gig. And I thought, what an amazing deal to have this extra budget, and that's what caught me. And that's, a lifestyle that I kind of embrace until today.
Got it. So, I don't know if my next question makes sense because you already kind of described this bright picture. Still, I saw on your LinkedIn that you wrote that 9 to 5 model belongs in the industrial era. So why so? Tell me more about this.
Well, because of the fact that the 9 to 5 model was developed more or less 100 years ago, in general, that's what we say. Of course, in different countries, it was implemented a little bit earlier, or usually a little bit later, actually, right? But roughly, I would say we're talking about 90, 100 years, more or less. And so that was the time that we had the era of industrialism, and also the people were overworked. There were no working norms, guidelines, nothing. And we were mostly dealing, of course, I wasn't alive, but what was happening within the society, there were most factory workers, right? So blue collar workers.
Yeah.
Because, right? And they worked on average 100 hours per week. And so they needed norms to actually have a little bit more, free time, and also to, well, not to be overworked constantly because it also impacted their health and their life
Yeah.
in general. So that's where the 9 to 5 model jumped in. And today, when the ratio changed and we actually have more white collar workers than blue collar workers and more knowledge workers, where we also talk about the explosion in a positive way, right, of the service industry, where goods are, well, where services rule the world pretty much today. When we look at the ratio, then it's all about the outcome, all about the goals and everything. So why should you sit straight for 8 hours, 9 to 5, if you can technically start earlier in the morning or maybe later in the afternoon, you can work across different time zones as long as you deliver. So there's definitely much more room for flexibility, which wasn't the case in the past because work was also tracked in a different manner than it should be tracked today.
And there are so many no-collar workers who just, hate this office style and like just use t-shirts and stuff, etc. That's exactly who freelancers are also. And yeah, to your point, I totally understand that world is getting so much faster and faster. We're having new technologies even now with AI stuff. Like we can do work that we were doing even 10 years ago for the whole day. We can do them like in 1 hour currently. And it's like crazy, but it doesn't mean that the amount of work is less. We're doing things faster and we're doing more and more and more and more, and feel like then that's why we have this word burnout and all other scary words. So what is your take on the freelance economy and how it will develop in the near future?
Yeah, so I think that what you've mentioned is super valid. So what matters is the result, and everything is keeps growing and everything keeps being faster and faster and faster. And also AI is playing like a huge role in all this. And I think that's a great opportunity also for freelancers to really be able to, I mean, let me tell you how I do it, right? I literally use AI as my second brain sometimes, right? I do, of course. It doesn't mean that I will tell AI to do everything for me. Absolutely not. That would be full utter nonsense. And I still see that people try to do it and they say, well, they deliver stuff that fully comes from AI and they think nobody knows. Please, like, don't do that. This is like that's not what I'm talking about, okay, as a principle. But to get your thoughts together, to get an overview, a general idea, to do things faster, so that you can actually do the creativity, the thinking within a framework, or use it as an assistant, help you plan your day better, this and that, then do this. And I think that also helps freelancers a lot to be able to deliver the output that they're capable of delivering and actually monetize their skills. What I think today is really happening, and I hope that's also going to develop and that's going to be the case, but we do see the numbers of the gig economy constantly increasing. We see the situation of job stability not
Yeah.
being able to ensure any stability anymore. So the concept is broken. Look at all the tech layoffs, everything that's happening. So I think that freelancing is actually the best policy for stability because you can have multiple income streams to begin with. Plus, you can monetize your skills. And this is something that I do, right? For example, I develop a thing once or twice, and then I have multiple clients and I reuse it and adjust it to a certain context.
Yeah.
It's nice. Why not do this? Plus, the world is now your oyster. Why should you be limited to one location if you can, well, sell your services everywhere pretty much? So I think that the future is all about being able to monetize your skills, right? To be able to show your competitive advantage and what you bring to the table, how you're bringing value to the business, and obviously community and connections, which is now more possible than ever. Even we are
Yeah.
meeting, right? That's amazing.
Exactly. And to your point, I heard the stories when COVID hit and people started working from home. Then, like, oh my God, they're doing different jobs at home. Like, they're working in one company and they're working in another company. So basically, people started being freelancers already. And, like, if they can deliver results, like, why can't they use their time wisely and, like, to, help other companies and to get more income? And like it's total stupidity that some companies still kind of own people. But from another point, it also like not everyone can go and find projects. I hear so many stories that it's hard to find projects, even taking into account all layoffs. There are so many people out on the market, and people still have to know how to do freelance correctly. So it's not like I, wake up and like, oh, I'll be freelancer. Oh, I'll be doing this. It's all exactly to your point. It's all about connections. It's all about building your network, and not only just to use people, but to really be, let's say, build relationships, even though those are professional relationships, still relationships. And yeah, I totally highly agree with what you are talking. And you are one of the people who drive this freelance economy future of work forward. and you'll be a speaker at Freelance Unlocked. So give me a sneak peek into what you'll be talking about on the Freelance Unlocked stage.
Okay, a sneak peek means I can give you a title, so it's going to be
A little bit more, yeah.
yeah. So okay, I'll tell you the title, but the sneak peek will be in English. So the topic is going to be Rechtliche Aspekte von digitalen Nomaden, which means legal aspects of digital nomading. Okay, and it will be in German indeed, but as you see, everyone, I speak English. So even if you join and I speak German and you don't understand, feel free to connect with me because I'll be there and I'll tell you everything in any language that I speak, and I speak multiple, so no worries. But what will I talk about? I'll talk about the fact that, well, digital nomading is a very specific scenario, which has many pros. It also has some cons. I personally believe it has many pros in terms of the legal perspective, but there are also many threats that people have to be aware of. And so, some of the aspects that are super important for everyone who wants to be a digital nomad, like how do I set myself up, my business, right? In some countries, you don't need to do that at all. Like for example, in the US, you don't need to
Yeah.
register your business anywhere, right? In other countries, you have to do that. It either has to be that you're a business owner and then you work on a B2B based relationship. You can be a freelancer based on also being a contractor, an independent contractor, like in the US. But as I said, there you don't have to register it. In some countries, you have to register it. There are different opportunities for you. So then, how do you also pay your social contributions? In what country? What's your tax residency in that case? Where do you pay taxes, right?
Yeah.
What's the rule of tax residency? And also, in addition to that, there's one super important topic today, which is the reason why many companies, well, are reluctant to hiring freelancers at scale because there is something called employment misclassification. What means that, well, today governments, especially in the EU, but not only in the EU, that's happening also, well, almost all around the world, there are more high risk countries than low risk countries. I deal with that topic every day. Like, what is the business relationship supposed to look like? And also, what should your contract look like? Like, why, for example, as a freelancer, you're never going to get paid time off in your contract. People reach out to me and they ask me, like, why I don't have paid time off? Why
Huh.
don't I have maternity leave or paternity leave? I'm like, no, well, this company doesn't treat me fairly. No, because you are a freelancer, they cannot give this to you. So I
Yeah.
will explain why it's that way from a legal perspective and that no one is doing anything against anyone, but this is just a legal aspect that needs to be considered.
What is the one thing that digital nomads have the most trouble with from the legal perspective? What's something they don't know before starting being digital nomads?
Well, this is going to be like super, for some, maybe a no-brainer, but I see this all over again. Over and over again. They have no idea how to invoice, how
Hmm.
to prepare an invoice, seriously. And trust me, how to prepare an invoice. The fact that in most cases they even need to have a separate bank account for their business, not their personal one. In some countries, they have no idea. I ran into situations in some companies where people said, yes, yes, I want to be a freelancer. Yes, no problem. Yes, yes, yes. And then I'm sending a contract and someone is like, what is this? What am I supposed to do? I don't understand anything. Like, how are you going to pay me? What am I supposed to do? Absolutely no idea. So it starts with understanding also the flexibility that you have, how you're supposed to invoice, how you'll be delivering results of your work. Yeah, and how to keep this all organized. I think they're ready to start doing the work,
Hmm.
but to prepare the back end. Oh, and even another thing that usually in most cases, they need an accountant
Hmm.
and or a tax advisor. For heaven's sake, this is a huge mess, trust me. Or if they should add VAT to their invoices or not, absolutely no idea.
Yeah, I totally get what you're talking about. The moment you know, but before you know, like it's like dark place to be there. And in additional to invoicing, what are some other things that freelancers have to be prepared with if they want to be digital nomads? Something like as insurance, visa, work permit, and all the stuff.
Yeah, that's super important. That's a very valid topic that you said. So, in terms of insurance, of course, if you are going to maintain your residency in one country, right, then in some countries you have this health insurance that is public by default, so you'll always have it. Then you only have to take care of some insurance when you travel. And there are different opportunities on the market. There are different companies that actually sell this as packages for most countries in the world that you can benefit from that. But if you are, for example, in a country where you want to be a freelancer, you want to be a digital nomad, but there is no public health coverage whatsoever, well, you need to make sure that you find this out proactively, that you do the research, because things related to health are usually unplanned. You never plan to be
Yeah.
sick. But when it happens, it can be a huge issue. So this, in terms of accidents, health insurance as well, plus in terms of work visas as well. There are now multiple digital nomad visas being introduced in many countries all around the world. Some of these programs work amazingly. Others have been announced, but they don't really work at all. So there are a few countries like that, but also to understand how that impacts your taxes, for example. If oh, and another thing which is super important, so that you don't run into double taxation, for example,
Mm,
which happened. I had that once with someone, and that was extremely tragic. It turned out that that person, unfortunately, had their business registered in one country and was paying taxes there, but actually never paid attention, went to another country, stayed there for over a year, and they wanted to buy property. And because of the fact that they wanted to buy property, they had to express that they live there. So they
yeah.
expressed live there, they proved everything. So they say, okay, so have you paid the taxes? Oh, in another country. Oh, sorry, you owe us here. So
Mm.
they have to pay double. But I mean, I'm not stressing anyone out. You just have to know these things so that they don't happen.
But it's good when those countries have agreements. So, and it's good if you are paying more taxes,
Yeah.
for the one country, then you can just, okay, I paid everything. So you just cover the thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, but I totally, it's a huge pain in the ass for sure. And what is the best place from your perspective? What is the best place for digital nomads to stay the longest?
That's a very good question, and there is no clear response because it's going to depend. Some people will say, "Oh, because of not paying any taxes," where technically, well, to some extent, you always have to pay taxes, right? So let's get not into the details here. But there were many opportunities, and there are still some countries like that where it definitely makes more sense, or you can do more write-offs. In other countries, you can't. So if this is your only goal and you want to stay in a certain country because of that, please go ahead. But then we also have another aspect, which is the entire infrastructure around you. It's also the social aspect. Do you actually want to live there long term, right? Do you want to stay there long term? Do you want to get to know the culture? Do you really feel that that makes sense for you? Plus, also something referring to time zones. Although I know that many freelancers, many digital nomads, we are all remote first, and I am as well. But trust me, it is challenging for me when I'm in Europe, but when I have a client in California and that client really wants to meet in the afternoon their time because it's
Yeah.
something super urgent, I have meetings at midnight, which occasionally happens, okay? But one thing, I once had a client in Australia, which I'd love to have clients in Australia, except the fact that I cannot wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to have 4:30 check-in sessions because I'm just not going to make it. So also consider this if you have a client base, how you work, how that's going to affect your day. Because I also had remote first teams that were spread across the globe,
Yeah.
and they were async first, but it's not always super possible in every case. So people would have to get up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning constantly for recurring meetings. So if you have a choice, then also think about it.
Yeah, yeah. I had some conversations with people from Australia and New Zealand, and I feel like the best windows that we can speak is somewhere between 7 till 10 a.m. my time. And like, no, not else. Yeah, I totally get what you're talking about. So you'll be a speaker. You'll definitely be in Berlin in May 15th, 16th. But what if your friend asked you what if they should go to Freelance Unlocked or not? What would you say to them?
I would tell them that they definitely should go because today, what really matters, and I mentioned that a few minutes ago when you asked me about freelancing and the gig economy, it's connections and community. This is definitely what you need. And it's not going to be this way that you'll wake up tomorrow and you'll say, today I will be a freelancer. I'm starting at 8 o'clock in the morning and I'll be successful. No, there are two options. Option one, you have a skill that is in super high demand. That may happen super quickly.
Mm.
But if it's not the case, which is the case in most cases, you need to build connections. You need to learn from others. You need to get inspired how to find clients, how to be genuine. Really how to be genuine, because what you express and who you are when you show what you're capable of, how you showcase your work, your case studies, everything, this is how your clients will find you. So how to do it, you should learn from those who have already done that. And obviously how the industry is going to grow. If
Yeah.
someone is thinking, should I go that direction? Yes, no, then you'll join the conference, you'll find out. And obviously, all the legal aspects, I just mentioned a little bit, but there will be many sessions in terms of legal. So believe it or not, that is also absolutely essential for you to know.
Yeah. And before the conference, what is the best way to connect with you?
Yes, you can find me. So yes, what is the best way? Yes, what a great response. The best way to connect with me is, well, online. I sometimes say I'm more virtual than real. You can find me on LinkedIn, Nadia Harris. I have this blue background, baby blue. I think it's baby blue, or maybe it's a different one, but blue anyway. And you can also Google remoteworkadvocate.com. This is my real virtual home, my website, and also I'm on Instagram as well, Remote Work Advocate, and other social media too. But those are the three spots where you can mostly find me. Happy to connect anytime.
Got it. Nadia, thank you so much for sharing your amazing wisdom even before the conference. And I can't wait to learn even more from you on Freelance Unlocked and hope to see you very soon in person.
See you soon in person. Super excited. And I hope that I have convinced all the listeners to join us as well.
And for those who listen to this episode, I hope you follow Nadia's advice, implement it, and say thank you to her in person at the Freelance Unlocked Conference on May 15-16 in Berlin. And go to freelanceunlocked.com, grab your ticket, and meet you there.